Gift giving's hard. Try to make it look good and make it useful. That's how people end up with George Foreman. Do it right and get the very best gifts around. Quality socks from the Trailhead. Darn tough, smart wool, and now with the addition of farm-to-feed socks, we have the best of the best. Quality socks are the best gift, and now is the time for the annual Trailhead Sock Sale. Buy two and get one free. Everyone deserves good socks for the holiday. Be a hero and shop the buy two, get one free sock sale at the Trail. 4 days only, Friday through Monday. Don't miss out.
At Holiday, we're adding a new all-star to our breakfast roster. Introducing the new Triple Double 3-meat, 2-cheese sandwich. It's got 2 Jimmy Dean sausage patties, plus bacon and a home-style egg, with cheddar and pepper jack cheese. And at $2.99, I'd say this makes breakfast a slam dunk. So take a time out and travel to Holiday and try our new breakfast sandwich, the Triple Double. Only $2.99, only for a limited time, and only at Holiday.
Mark Moss inviting you to join us for an evening of live storytelling for Wilma December 10th. Yeah, great storytellers take the stage to share their true personal stories from memory on the theme. We again welcome American Sign Language interpreters who will sign for our country in the Missoula community. Get your tickets now. Not that box. Dr. Rudy's or Log Jams events December 10th, 7 p.m. at the Wilma.
Western Montana, KKBU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula.
Big Sky Football All-Conference teams announced. Montana men's basketball team back in the W column. Montana State playing later on against Colorado Christian, tonight. And a look ahead into the FCS playoff picture. Hi, how are you? It is Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. Outstanding to be with you on this Tuesday afternoon. Hope you are having a fantastic day. Thanks for spending some time with us here on your radios, on your televisions, on your devices, however you're doing it. We appreciate it. We are broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy. And if you go there on Saturday, December 7th in Missoula, it is their 7th annual snow day. 7th annual snow day, 1 day only, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. It is the biggest sale of the year. It is at Kurtz Polaris. Go there. If you would like to call, you can do that, 329-1899, 329-1899, the phone number. All guests join us via the Rankage Brothers RV phone line. And if you would like to listen live, you can go to our website and do just that, 1029ESPN.com. The stream is there. You listen live on the stream. It is available thanks to Opportunity Bank, your local bank, your opportunity. Let's take a look at what we got in the show today. Big Sky All-Conference honors have come out. And Coulter, well, he's got plenty to say about the way that whole thing shook out. So we'll get to that and maybe discuss Jeff Choate's conversation about that as well. We will also get into some men's basketball. Montana winning last night against Texas Southern. Montana State coming up against Colorado Christian tonight, so we will get into that a little bit. We will also take a look at the FCS playoffs as they set up, and we spent almost the whole show, good portion of the show yesterday, talking about the Cat Grizz football game. We may touch on some more of that stuff as well here today as we continue to sort of ruminate and consider what happened on Saturday in Bozeman. We also will get into a bunch of giveaways today. We got tickets for you to the Grizzly men's basketball game on Friday night. We got Katie O'Keefe's gift card. I think tomorrow we got some stuff from the Warden's Market, 6-pack and a sandwich, maybe some Alpine Touch. So we got all kinds of stuff for you today on a Tuesday as we get you ready for a Thanksgiving weekend, which I'm looking forward to. Thank you. So there you go. That is our show outlook. It is brought to us by Shine Auto Detailing. Go get your car detailed right now. Not just looking nice, feeling good, but also protected for the winter months to come. Shine Auto Detailing. MissoulaAutoDetailing.com. Coulter, hi. How are you, my man? You're looking good. Nice shirt you got.
Thanks.
You're welcome. We've been talking so much and been so wrapped up in the Montana State football game and kind of what has happened on that. And do you feel like the forest is lost for the trees at times when you talk about the one game at the end?
Yes.
The Cat Grizz game is it is a bigger game. I don't want to hear about this. It's one of 12 or it's one of 11 or whatever. No. It isn't. It's more than that. But also, it isn't more than all of it, even though that is sort of what I wrote to an extent. Yeah, I mean, in terms of the it's huge in the psyche and in the lore of the state of Montana and of football and of sports in Montana. But it is not bigger than the season, if that makes sense. And as we sit here, both Montana and Montana's, I mean, how crazy is this? After everything that's transpired, Montana State, 9-3, number 5 in the nation, first round bye and a seed. Montana, 9-3, number 6 team in the nation, first round seed and a bye.
It's even more crazy when you consider that Weber State and Sac State are both 9-3 as well.
Right. So, it's how much different would the feeling be to you if the game had been 28-27?
My assertions and strong proclamations yesterday were intended to alter this omnipresent and honestly exhausting narrative. It seems to me that so many people that follow this rivalry on both sides of it share the same opinion. That is that the Grizz are better than them, even when the Cats beat them. I know Cat fans that think that, and I know Grizz fans that think that. And at the end of the day, when you really just put the facts on the paper, take your emotion out of it, take where you grew out of it, take where you went to school out of it, take what your family's lineage and your affiliation with the rivalry, take it all out of it. Look at the actual fact. The teams are the exact same over the last 20 years, except for the Cats are better this decade, period.
So there you go.
I don't know what I don't think my thoughts would have changed if it was 28-27. Just it would have only depended on who won the game.
Okay. Now you said that in the broad spectrum, in the view of the rivalry as the rivalry this year and in years past. So I get that. But within the context of this season, in the context of this postseason, which we are now entering, does your opinion change if it's 28-27 as opposed to 48-14?
No, because I think that the number one factor is how you lose heartbreaking fashion 2 years ago, or just a complete shellacking like this last Saturday. If you're going to the playoffs, you got to put it. You just have to
win, lose, or draw.
Win, lose, or draw. This could be. I mean, honestly, what we're seeing right now, if the Grizz use it in the proper positive fashion, it could be the best thing that ever happened to them, and they could go on a run. If the Cats rest on their laurels, it could be the worst thing that ever happened to them. And if either of those, if the Grizz let it affect them in a negative fashion, then that's why the game is bigger than any of the other games. If Montana gets upset at home in the second round of the playoffs, that's when it's a huge concern what happened in the game. if Montana State gets upset in the first round, in the second round at home, then it's like you were going to the playoffs anyways. I say the Cats would have lost that game and then got a first-round playoff game, and then they go and rebound and win that game, and then go on a little playoff run. That would have been a better scenario in terms of what happens from the game.
I want to talk to you about this very thing. This is very phenomenal. Montana is going to be playing at 1 o'clock on December 7th, Washington. They're going to be playing either Southeastern Louisiana, who is 7-4, but hosting Villanova, who is the more how can I say it? They have the longer lineage and history within the Big Sky within the Big Sky nationally when you talk about playoffs, like Villanova. Still, it's in Southeastern Louisiana. In either case, both of these teams are actually pretty good teams.
Mm-hmm.
Villanova's
in the country.
Sure, but you would always expect the home team for Montana or Montana State to be winning that football. Here's what I want to know. It seems to me that coming out of the Montana State, that the Grizzlies have a chance if they can filter that in the right direction to just blow any team that walks into Washington Saturday, December 7th, away. Just wipe them right off of the map. Or it seems to me that it could be a major struggle and a one and done scenario where and it truly is completely tied to what happened on Saturday. And I don't know, this is one of the great mysteries of coaching and of sports and everything like that in general. I don't know how you try and begin to build out of this thing. I mean, I think it's not, people look at the head coach and say, okay, well, coach, what do you need to do? What does your staff need to do? But you know what? I think it's about the individual. These kids are kids on one hand, but they're also men. I mean, you're talking about 18, 19-year-olds. You're also talking about 21, 22-year-olds. Talking about guys who have a life of discipline, a life of, practice that they and it's up to the guys and the leaders on the team and the mentality and the makeup of the group in general to be able to manufacture a positive out of a negative. And I guess time will tell. We'll find out in a week and a half whether the Grizzlies are able to do just that. And by the way, it is the coaching staff too. Like it's everybody has to figure out a way to channel that emotion to create something. To create something great and to create a catalyst into what is still an outstanding football team who's had a great season. And you and I today, we recorded the FCS Speculators. But actually, if you take Montana's season as a whole, and this is true, they were better, maybe a little, maybe a lot, but they were better than expectations even for them coming into year number 2. And that includes the loss to Montana State. So this team is we've seen it be as good as it gets. We've seen it be elite. And we've seen it be dominant more than not. And they have an opportunity to, I won't say put this behind them. I don't think you do that with the rivalry game, but the narrative isn't done yet on this. And there's a lot more that you can say about this team. And will say, depending on how they deal with this going forward and into a playoff game.
Well, this takes us right into the all Big Sky stuff that I want to talk about, because what you're saying is absolutely correct. And I think that the ceiling for both of these teams remains exactly where it was the day that the season ended last year, the day that spring ball ended for both programs, the day that fall camp opened, and the day that CACR is finished. The ceiling for these two teams has been the Final Four of the FCS play. That is as well as they could hope to do. And maybe somebody gets upset and stuff like that. I just don't think that no matter how well these teams perform, I don't think that they have the ability to beat James Madison or North Dakota State. I don't. Not yet. But I think they can beat anybody else in the country. And that is the...
Well, here's what's amazing, though, is if these seeds all hold, in the second game, it'll be the third round, but just the second game that they play, Montana will go to Weber State and play Ogden, and Montana State will go to Sacramento State and play the Hornet.
Yep.
Two different venues and the exact opposite outcomes. Montana State got shellacked by Sacramento State at home. Now they got to go on the road for retribution. Montana shellacked Weber State at home. Now have to go on the road and try and not let the retribution happen, right? And then, I mean, if that were to happen, if either of these teams get into the national semifinal, overwhelming, momentous success on the season. period. Like that, like either one of them, if they both make it to that point, because again, North Dakota State's not just the best team, they are on a tier alone at the top. And James Madison, they are on a tier alone at number 2. So there are gaps. There's no equals there from anybody in the country as of right now. You just simply can't say that. Now, does that mean that obviously that especially in a one-game scenario, it can't go another team's way? No, but those are the facts, man. So if you make it into a game with either one of those teams, you have gotten to the end for this season, I think. And I think aspirations are higher than that and should be for both places. But for this year, you get to that spot and then you see what happens. You see what you're able to do against the best of the nation.
The way that you react in sports is one of the key factors in sports. How do you respond from a loss? That's why I love covering this level of football, because you're going to lose, and how do you respond from that? That's a key factor always, especially in FCS football. And that brings me into the All Big Sky stuff.
Okay, it's 210 Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. And we will certainly talk, obviously, about Montana State, because they have a much better first-round matchup regardless of who they play in terms of just the matchup, either Albany or Central Connecticut State. So we'll get to that as well. But yes, Coulter, the all-conference stuff came out. Some of it, as you would expect, some of it right, and some of it going, who or how did the voting? And again, it all comes back to the fact that there's 13 teams in an unbalanced conference schedule, and so people don't see everybody play and the whole thing again.
So we'll start at the beginning.
Okay.
Here's your honorees for the University of Montana. Samari Toure was a first-team All-League selection at wide receiver. Jerry Louis McGee, a unanimous first-team All-League selection at punt return. Duh. Dante Olson and Jace Lewis, first-team All-League selections at
inside linebacker.
Yep. Glad to say that we had that one right. Skyline. Sammy Kim, injured last couple of weeks of the season. He gets second team at wide receiver. Conlon Beaver and Cy Sermon on the offensive line. Jesse Sims at defensive tackle, and Robbie Houck at defensive back. And then third team, Marcus Knight, who was also the newcomer of the year in the league. Angel Villanueva at offensive line, which was sort of surprising, but good for him. I mean, it's not as if he had a bad year. I just didn't think that Montana was going to get 3 offensive linemen on the list, period. Josh Shandry, third team at defensive back. And then Dalton Sneed, honorable mention at quarterback. I'm burning on this one. We're going to talk about it in a minute. Montana State's honorees, Mitch Brott, first team All-League selection at offensive line, which I thought was great. One thing worth noting, the coaches picked offensive linemen and defensive backs, not by position, but just by position group. So
it's not safety and corner. It's not center and tackle.
So, for example, 3 centers were on the first team All-League. I don't know what I think of that, because center is a distinctly different position than guard, which is a distinctly different position than tackle. Regardless.
Yes.
Mitch Brott, Travis Johnson as an all-purpose player, Troy Anderson as an outside linebacker. So I spoke to you earlier. I said that he was first-team All-League both ways this year. That's not true. He was first-team All-League on offense last year, first-team All-League on offense this year. He's still the first player in conference. Yeah, he's still the first player in conference history to be first-team All-League on both sides of the ball. Amazing. Not in the same year, but still amazing. Josh Hill, the surprise, a first-team All-League selection at inside linebacker. He did make Montana State's defense the best defense in the league the last month of the season upon his return. But he missed time, and I thought it was interesting that he was the pick there. But then Braden Conkle deservedly gets a first-team All-League. And you talk about responding. Braden Conkle got honorable mention last year. He did not shy away from talking about how he thought that was not correct and how that was a huge motivating factor for him.
He's also first-team all-conference press conference.
No doubt. Lewis Kidd, offensive guard, and then Derek Marks, defensive tackle. Bryce Stirk at defensive end. Second-team All-League picks for the Cats. Kevin Cassis, Taylor Tuiasosopo, Chase Benson, and Amadre Williams on the third team, and then Jared Padmas as a punter. So let's start at the beginning. I got to talk about Bryce Stirk first and foremost. First of all, let's talk about how these teams are selected. Coach, I learned something today. Coaches nominate players, and they have a conference call. I'm not sure if it's actually a conference call or how it works now, what the form of communication is, but they get together in some sort of electronic fashion and they vote on this stuff. I did not know this until today. If you are the co-league champion, you get automatic slots on the first team. So if you're Weber State and Sacramento State, you get 4 slots on each the first team All-League offense and defense. I did not know that until today. That being said,
that's significant.
That's the number one reason why Bryce Stirk is on the second team. Right. Because Jonah Williams from Weber State was the co-MVP of the league with Dante Olson of the University of Montana. that. Oh, I should say the individual awards first and foremost. Kevin Thompson from Sac State, the Offensive Player of the Year, thought that was correct. Dante Olson shared Defensive Player of the Year with Jonah Williams, defensive end from Weber State. Marcus Knight, the Newcomer of the Year. The Freshman of the Year was Nick Eaton from UC Davis, which I thought that's definitely slam dunk. Absolutely, that should have been the case. But because George Obina from Sac State was one of the four that was slated for the Hornets after their league championship, and Jonah Williams was one of the four slated for Weber State, it left no spot for Bryce Sterk. My arguments here are twofold. First of all, you could argue that Bryce Sterk stacked his stats in the non-conference, which is true. He had 3.5 sacks against Norfolk State, who was not a good team. He had 8 sacks in the non-conference. That said, he did have 2 of those sacks against Southeast Missouri State, who's the number 12 team in the country this week. And even with him having 8 sacks not in conference play, he still had 6 sacks in conference play, which is as many sacks as Jonah Williams has this season. Jonah Williams had 3 of his 6.5 sacks against Nevada, so not even in conference play. He had 2 more against Southern Utah. So 5 of this guy's 6.5 sacks this season came in 2 games, including 1 against the worst team in the league. Jonah Williams is a big, strong, formidable guy. He does not make anywhere close to the amount of plays in the backfield that Bryce Sterk makes. He does not make anywhere close to the impact on a game. Bryce Sterk not only has a bunch of sacks, he's got tackles for loss. He has almost 50 solo tackles this year as a guy who switched spots before the season. Every measurable way to measure a first-team All-Big Sky player, whether it's the eye test, the talent level, the motor, the effort, the production, what he does to affect a game plan, Bryce Sterk is the best player on the edge of any player in the Big Sky Conference, period. To tell me he's not first-team All-League, I don't care if you have an automatically slotted Weber State or an automatically slotted Sac State. Those guys deserve it too. You should make a third DN spot. It's just stupid that he's not a first-team All-League player. He's a first-team All-League talent. There's no question. There's no question. And the fact that this guy's going to end his career at Montana State with back-to-back second-team All-League selections, despite leading the conference in sacks and tackles for loss 2 years in a row, it's just embarrassing for the league.
Well, if he goes and wins the Buck, that'll be something. Huh?
It's just like when we had, I had forgotten about this, but we had Brock Coyle on our show last Friday.
Yep.
Former University of Montana linebacker who then went on to not only play in the NFL but start for the San Francisco 49ers.
Got a second contract as a linebacker.
Started games for the San Francisco 49ers. I had
not a good defense.
I had blacked it out of my mind because it made me so mad years ago. But David put on our notes, our producer put on our notes, that Brock Coyle was an honorable mention All-League pick when he was a junior and a second-team All-League pick when he was a senior. He was the best linebacker on his team without question. He was also the best inside linebacker in the league without question. But 2 guys from his own team that played linebacker got first team and he did not. That's insane. The other thing that people got to understand is about the way these coaches do this is not only do they have slated slots, but a lot of times you only have, I don't know, again, I don't know if they still do the conference call, but you used to only have a certain amount of time to lobby for your guys. So if you're going all in, like last year, Jeff Choate went all in to lobby for Troy Anderson to be a first-team all-conference guy. Put him whatever position you want, you have to vote him first-team all-conference, which was the truth. Because of that, he didn't have as much time to argue for Mitch Brott, for Tyrone Fanono, for Tucker Yates. So that stuff, it just grinds my gears so much because I think that you just have to recognize the most talented dudes.
Yeah.
Just play Jeff Choate.
Yeah, Jeff Choate had a lot to say on this, or well, little to say on this anyway. So here you go. Here's Jeff Choate on the All-Big Sky Conference selection.
You look at the defense, and I mean, there's some great players on the defensive line, and it's kind of like everybody kind of edges each other out. But I think it's awesome that Troy gets recognized as one of the best players in this league. I mean, I think he's one of the best 11, and so he deserves to be a first-team player. Josh Hill, what an awesome honor for him. I think that speaks to how many people really respect his game and how he went about his business. And he was dominant in league games over the last 6 weeks of the season. So I think very deserving of that. And Braden Conkle, obviously kind of our enforcer in the back end. And I've said it for a number of years. I think he's one of the best open field tacklers in the conference. And so for him to be recognized on the first team is very, very meaningful. Obviously, in a large league like this, man, I think there's a lot of guys that get left out. I mean, for a guy that's recognized as one of the best defensive players in the country to only be second team and Bryce Sterk, but his numbers are, eye-popping. But there's some good players at Weber State, and there's some good players at Sac State. So that kind of, when those guys all stack up in the same position, it's kind of tears the votes apart. So The one thing that Sac State and Weber State had the advantage on us in as first place teams, they got more selections. They got automatic selections. And so that kind of starts to skew things. So their top vote getters automatically get, I think it was 4. You'd have to look at it. I think they got 4 slots on each team automatically because they were co-conference champions. And so I don't think that diminishes Bryce's importance to us and to our team. And certainly he's deserving of recognition.
Yeah, no doubt. And you understand, again, kind of why it happens. But like you said, I mean, is there not a way? First of all,
there needs to be a way to just weigh some certain things together.
Yes.
Montana's offensive line was much improved this year. Absolutely. I certainly believe that Angel Villanueva, Cy Sermon, and Colin Beaver all deserve some sort of all-league recognition. To say that any of those 3 guys should be ranked ahead of any person on Montana State's offensive line is just incorrect.
Yeah.
It's flat not right. The Grizz had probably the 5th or 6th best offensive line in the league, which is a gigantic jump from having 10th or 11th last year. The Cats have the best offensive line in the league. There's no way you can convince me that Taylor Tuiasosopo and Lewis Kidd don't deserve to be over anybody from the University of Montana or anybody else. How do the Cats lead the league in rushing by almost 600 yards, and they only have 1 first-team guy and no second-team guy? I'm not saying those guys should have been up as the first team. They should have been on the second team, though. You can't tell me that 3 of the 10 best offensive linemen don't play for the best offensive line in the league.
Yeah.
The other thing, I don't want to make this all about the Cats because the Grizz got some legitimate things, too. Sammy Akim got hurt. I get it. But at the same time, to say that J.J. Koski from Cal Poly is better than him is just wrong. That's not correct. But
it is incorrect, yes.
But also, it's not just the Montana guys. And I'm not trying to say just the proximity bias. You watch Jeff Cotton. How do you say a guy that plays for a triple option team, no matter what yards per catch he averages, is better than Jeff Cotton?
Not possible.
It's not possible. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm saying. Get over the stats. Just look at the eye test. Who are the best looking receivers in the league? Sammy Akim, Samari Torrey, Jeff Cotton, Brandon Porter from NAU. That's it. That's all. Pierre Williams from Sac State, certainly maybe in the mix. Not J.J. Koski.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing, too, is it does matter. I mean, Josh Gordon, in his absolute prime, was an absolute revelation, not just because he was doing it, but where he was doing it. If you're catching 1,500 yards from who knows who the guy is for the Cleveland Browns, you got to be the best wide receiver ever.
No doubt.
There's some guys who are hugely productive in some less than ideal circumstances in this league.
And I know we got to get out, but the last one I have to absolutely burn on just for a second is the fact that Dalton Snead got honorable mention all league. I know he got hurt, and like David was arguing with me, our producer was arguing with me, he didn't play like spectacularly. He was a spark against Idaho, but was not like this crazy world beater. He had played poorly against Sac State in the loss, and then he was very pedestrian against Montana State. Okay, all those things go into it. But on the other hand, Dalton Snead straight up won Montana 4 games earlier this year. He was straight up the best player in the league for a month.
Yeah.
And you can lobby all this, all that. I get the arguments against it, but at the end of the day, if you're going to say that playing quarterback is all about winning, Dalton Snead helped his team win at a higher level than any other quarterback in the conference this year except for Kevin Thompson.
Yeah.
Therefore, to tell me that an NAU team that only beat 3 Division I opponents, I don't care that Case Cookus leads the FCS in passing yard.
Right.
What are they worth? He won no games for his team.
Mm-hmm.
Eric Barrier, okay. They went 7-5, so they had a winning record. So you could at least say, okay, Barrier's the mechanism. I get him being third team. Dalton Snead's second team. He's second team.
Yeah.
For his leadership, his winning, everything.
I totally agree. The one other guy, Coulter, that this gets overlooked a lot, the best punter by far that I watched this season was Adam Wilson.
And the second best was who? Jared Padmas.
Both of them. Neither of them are even on the list.
Jared Padmas got honorable mention, and Adam Wilson got nothing.
Like, I get DJ Arnson, okay, but as you said, he's punting on the moon. You get a little better carry when there is no gravity. I mean, that's the way it works down there at NAU.
How does Adam Wilson not get honorable mention? I mean, I had him as my first team all-league guy. On my selections, I had him first team.
It's beyond comprehension. So anyway, Adam Wilson, we've been watching, my friend, and Jared Padmos as well. I mean, at least he got it in the place-kicking game. But Adam Wilson is a specialist who is the best at what he does. What was the total return yards on this season for the Grizz punt team? Like
28.
I mean, what more do you need to know than that?
And Jared Padmas, as a punter, gave up 1.4 yards per return the second least amount of return yards in the league, and then also in terms of overall distance, ranked 5th in the country.
Crazy.
The combination of that, you have to be All Big Sky. Man, I don't know, man. I could burn on this forever, but at the end of the day, to me, if you play for a team that sucks, you do not deserve to be nominated. There's a first-team All-League kid from NAU on the first-team defense. That's not right.
Yeah.
If you give up 60 points to Idaho, if Mesa Petrino, God bless his soul, goes for 550 yards against you and you play corner, you're eliminated from All-League nomination, period.
It's Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. We'll take a quick break. On the other side, the Montana Grizzlies home basketball game. Good to get back and get in the win calling for the Montana Grizzlies as they were able to beat Texas Southern. We'll tell you about that game. We'll also get you set for Montana State versus Colorado Christian tonight right after this. Hey, it's wintertime. Guess what that means? It's a great time to get your car detailed. You think I'm crazy, but I'm not crazy, okay? Well, maybe I am a little crazy, but I'm still right about this. You go to Shine Auto Detailing. You get your car cleaned inside and out, but also they will add a ceramic coating on the outside of your car so that all of the things that kick up in the winter driving, the rocks, the ice, the sand, the grit, the salt, it keeps your car completely protected. And when it comes time to clean it again, you got no chips, you got no problems. Your car is looking great, but also in great condition as well. And right now, they will also, with any detailing service, include a free headlight restoration. Headlight restoration, you can't see at night in the dark. It's always dark in the wintertime. You need to be able to see. Go to Shine Auto Detailing. Online at MissoulaAutoDetailing.com. Make your appointment right now. Shine Auto Detailing.
Hey, it's Coulter, and I'm here with Catherine from The Advocates. If you've been in a car accident or need help dealing with the insurance companies, you should give The Advocates a call. They can tell you if you have a case right over the phone.
That's right. It doesn't cost anything to call, and we'd be happy to talk to you and assess your situation. You don't want to have to deal with contacting the insurance companies and setting up a claim. We can do that for you. We take the hassle out of the process so you can just focus on getting better.
There you go, folks. If you've been injured in an accident, give The Advocates a call. 406-640-4444 or online at MontanaAdvocates.com. You deserve The Advocates.
Black Friday is coming, and for the hunter or gun enthusiast on your list, the best Black Friday sale is once again at Selway Armory. Selway Armory's annual Black Friday sale is the stuff of legend, with tons of inventory at and even below cost. Put Selway Armory on your schedule and get there this Black Friday and Saturday for the sale of the year on firearms, ammunition, and accessories. Get to the store at 2825 Stockyard Road, Unit E6 behind IHOP on North Reserve. Selway Armory's Black Friday sale, the best there is.
No matter how far you may go, there's always one just down the road. Town Pump, ooh, pump it up.
Refresh yourself at your local Town Pump. Get a 32-ounce fountain drink for $1.19. While you're there, grab a couple of everything bagels in the deli, 2 for $5. Town Pump, so convenient and right down the road from you.
Town Pump, right down the road. Pump it up, oh yeah.
Here at Florence Coffee Company, we developed our medium roast coffee beans to make consistently smooth and delicious coffee drinks. You can take the beans home yourself so you can have Florence coffee anytime. Pick up a pound of whole bean or ground for only $12. Better yet, if you bring your own cup, we'll give you a 12-ounce strip coffee free when you buy your coffee beans. Come to any Florence Coffee location or go to FlorenceCoffeeCo.com.
Hey there, Coulter Nuanez from your favorite daily sports talk show, Tutel Nuanez. I'm here with Tom from Aspen Sound. Tom, last winter I got a sweet car starter. It's something I think everybody needs.
You know, Coulter, I couldn't agree more, and my wife sure thinks so too. We've got a lot of sweet deals. We actually have it capable now where you can start it from your phone from anywhere you'd like. We have two-way remotes that'll confirm to you the vehicle started all the way down to our basic package starting at just $299 installed. Come on in and check us out.
Feel the music at Aspen Sound.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good afternoon. Ryan Tutel, Colter Nuanez. Here's some sports news for you. The high school football season came to a close this weekend. We got 5 new state champions. In an overfull capacity in Naranche Stadium in Butte Friday night, the Bulldogs battled the Bozeman Hawks to a 14-14 tie at the break, but the visitors used a bruising running game in the second half to outscore their opponents 35-14 and roll to a 49-28 win for the Class State AA title. Bozeman senior and Grizz commit Asher Croy rushed for 333 yards on 33 carries in the win.
And 3 touchdowns. In Class A, Miles City beat Hamilton, and Laurel took down Dillon in the state semifinals to set up an all-Eastern final. And in the first home state championship since 1995 in Miles City, the Cowboys finished off the season on top, forcing 4 Laurel turnovers and cruising to a 35-7 win. The Cowboys now hold a record 10 Class A titles.
In Class B, Manhattan took down favored Fairfield in the semis to earn the right to host, but couldn't hold serve against Eureka, who won 20-6. Hank Dunn scored all 3 touchdowns for the Lions as Eureka won its 3rd state championship in the last 4 seasons.
Fairview had 12 seniors on its Class C 8-man roster and used that depth to earn the first state title in school history, dismantling Alberton Superior 70-6. And in 6-man, Jordan finished on top, topping Webo 70-14.
This ESPN Missoula Sports Center is brought to you by Aspen Sound.
The Montana Grizzlies had dropped a couple of basketball games, which hasn't happened very often under Coach Travis DeCuire. They got back in the win column last night, and Montana State returns to Bozeman for the first time in quite a while. A bunch of road trips for the Bobcats. It is Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. Great to be with you on this Tuesday afternoon as we have a short week here. I want to remind everybody, Thursday and Friday, Colter and I, we will be in a food coma somewhere on a couch, eyes half glazed over. It's like the basted turkey, you know? You get too much of that turkey, and then your eyes just do the same thing with the turkey, and you're just out. Anyways, enjoy your Thanksgiving, and we will catch you again on Monday. But don't worry, we got today, we got tomorrow. We'll get it all in here. If we are broadcasting, by the way, through from the Kurtz Polaris Studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy. And they have their 7th annual snow day. It's one day only. It's December the 7th. It's a week from Saturday at Kurtz Polaris, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. They got free lunch for you, food, everything, and the best sales of the entire year. One day only at Kurtz Polaris. Colter, the Montana Grizzly men's basketball team, got back in the win column last night over a very good Texas Southern team. 74-62 the final. Saeed Pridgett, 19 points, 7 boards, 4 assists. Kendall Manuel also added 15 points and 6 rebounds. Timmy Falls, who, by the way, started in this game, which I thought was, notable, and got the start, had 11 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists. They will play Coppin State next Friday, but a 74-62 win. The Grizzlies, Colter, at one point in the second half of this basketball game, made 11 straight shots. I mean, that's a nice way. Coaches always talk about you got to go on runs by playing defense. You got to make stops on the defensive end. And it feels to a certain extent like in basketball, you're a little more in control defensively, odd as that is to say. I mean, they say great offense beats great defense. That's true. I mean, you can't stop a perfect shot. But also, some shots are just not going to go. So you can't just expect to just keep going and putting bucket after bucket in. But when it happens, it's the turning point, because this was a close game at halftime, and the Grizzlies came out and really separated themselves in the second half. I was at this game, Colter. I mean, I don't want to, put all my problems on everybody out there. But, we went. We took the family down there, had the kids, the whole thing. I'm getting ready. I even had the recorder, go talk to the coaches afterwards. Middle of the second half, we got a sick kid in the bathroom doing what you do when you're sick in the bathroom. And that's a quick way to bring family night to a close. You know what I mean? You go, all right, back to the minivan troops. We are out of here. So it was a short night for us. Did get to watch the rest of the game when I got home, so that's good. But a big win for Montana, who, by the way, is now just 2-4 on the season. Now, they have played 3 high major schools all
Stanford,
on the road.
Washington, and Arkansas.
That's right. But obviously the still glaring sort of result of the schedule thus far was their 74-72 loss to Montana Tech. But to get a Division I win at home against Texas Southern, this is actually a big non-conference night for Montana to get back in the win column.
Have you seen Texas Southern's schedule?
No, I have not. I must say.
Haven't played a home game yet.
Oh, that's harder.
They have been at San Diego State, at Wichita State, at South Dakota, at Arkansas, at Northern Kentucky, at Montana. They get their first home game, but it's not a home game. It's a neutral site game against Lamar in the home state of Texas. Then they got to play at Gonzaga, at Nevada, at Oregon, at Arizona State, at Texas A&M. It's impossible.
That is impossible.
You want to know how? You want to know why with the stratification in Division I basketball? There's a lot of complaining around the Big Sky Conference about how the better teams can't get games, and I'm all about it.
Yeah.
Boise State's probably never going to come to Missoula again after Montana beat them last time. Gonzaga will not come here. No way. Montana could go there, but Gonzaga will not come to Missoula. No way.
Yeah.
But you got to remember, with 340 plus Division I teams, there are schools like Texas Southern that truly cannot play home game. They have one home game.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy. I guess you do what you got to do. And Texas Southern, I mean, it's not like they're a known, and they even play basketball. Texas Southern for decades, if not over a century down. I mean, they're a long-standing institution, part of the SWAC conference, and it's tough, man, if you can't do it at home. For Montana last night, though, Josh Vasquez, as we mentioned, did not have the start. Timmy Falls did. Vasquez still played 28 minutes. Timmy Falls, though, had 35 and had a good night overall. Still had 5 turnovers, but did end up, as you mentioned there, 4 rebounds and 11 points total on the night for Timmy Falls. The other guy who I thought is definitely worth noting, but Jared Samuelson was in the game last night and played 14 minutes for the Grizzlies. Obviously, I don't think I'm aware of another situation where a guy played a year, transferred out of a school, and then grad transferred back into the school that he had left originally. And we're aware too that he did not leave on terms that were primarily about the University of Montana or obviously a problem internally. I think it was more external stuff. And so when he had the opportunity to come back, he did. But an interesting deal to see him, on the floor last night. And this is not a team that's got a ton of size, and it is a team that has a ton of youth. So for him to be at least a forward-ish size guy who can play in the painted area and also be a senior, a grad transfer type of guy, I think that's really big for Montana. And is he going to be, a leader? And again, for basically everybody outside of Saeed Pridgett, nobody else really knows, they haven't played with him, so he's a new face and stuff like that. But to have a veteran presence and a guy who knows how to play some basketball, I think that's good for this team in general. And it was good to see him out there, and he, is going to take a little time to work back into it, but did get some minutes and played relatively well.
Text from a loyal listener, this is a good point, said that Texas, that schedule pays for their entire athletic.
No football.
I don't know if that's actually truly confirmation of fact, but there is a lot of money being made when you're talking about all those games. I mean, every single one of those games is a max money game. You're talking about $110,000 to the tune of 13 or 14 of them.
Right.
I mean, you can look at it two ways, right? It's really hard to build a loyal following when you don't have any home games.
Yeah.
But also, talk about being battle tested when you're going into the SWAC.
No.
You're not playing anybody like Gonzaga.
Yeah, no doubt. And they do have football, by the way, at Texas Southern. But to your point, I mean, it's they're getting a ton of money, and I don't know if a ton of money, but they are on the right side of the money when they're playing all those road games. But like you said, I mean, it's tough to do. I mean, this is a team that's got one win on the season in Texas Southern, and how do you go about trying to get through all of that when you're when you got that when you're on the road all the time, even in state, man. Like, I mean, okay, Texas is huge, man. You could go on the road in Texas and be like traveling halfway across the country, depending on where you go. By the way, we do want to do this right now. We got a pair of tickets for you for Friday's Grizz game. The Montana Grizzlies at home against Coppin State. And another, big game as this young team continues to develop. Fun team to watch, man. There's a ton of talent on this team and young talent. And if you haven't been to a game yet, you should go. I mean, you should go watch Kyle Owens, watch Josh Vasquez, watch several of these, young kids who are in the early stages of their career and watch them develop. But they're a fun team, and they have not played well right now. Okay, this has been a young team that has played, in fact, badly, and then at other times played well, but against really good competition. But this is a team that you can see the talent on it and what the potential of it could be. And heck, when it's for free, might as well go. So 329-1899, 329-1899. We got 2 tickets for you right now to the Grizzly Coppin State game on Friday.
I don't know how many good players there's been in the Big Sky the last 2 years. Just look at what's going on with all the teams around the league. Montana's not the only ones that are trying to rebuild and reload. Weber State is just terrible. Weber State got destroyed last night by Wright State, but they've not been good. I mean, they were down by 50 to Utah State. Honestly, the team that's been the best of the sort of quote-unquote blue bloods has been Montana State so far. And the other team that I think people need to be on the lookout for, we've seen them in all their glory at the Big Sky tournament, ruining every bracket the last 2 years, is Southern Utah. Southern Utah has just been pretty up and down in the regular season. Then they go to the tournament and they just beat 2 teams that are way higher seeded than them, and they ruin the whole thing. And they play in the
What
semifinals.
happens every time we watch Southern Utah in the tournament? We watch them, they win, and we go, well, yeah, of course they won. Of
course they won. Look at them.
7 tallest, strongest players on the floor were all on their team. And then you go, well, how is this like a 6-win conference team or like whatever? What's going on here? By the way, I didn't put it together till right now, though. But Johnny Jones is the head coach of Texas Southern, Coulter. And I saw him, at the game, and I was like, oh, maybe he must have been the head coach at Texas Southern for 50 years. Like, I know who this guy is. Well, it's his first year as the head coach. He was on the Nevada Wolfpack staff last year, but he spent the last 5 years before that as the head coach at LSU, and specifically Ben Simmons. It was the saga, where Ben Simmons went to LSU, played for Johnny Jones, and now he's at Texas Southern after that didn't go all that well. So, all right, we'll take a quick break. On the other side, Montana State, they play tonight. They've been playing well here early in this portion of the season. Danny Sprinkle's first year as the head coach. We'll get into that and also a rip session next.
You know what's at stake after a car accident? Not only will you have to deal with pushy insurance companies, auto repair shops, endless doctor's appointments, and dozens of unforeseen problems, but also your normal day-to-day life. I'm Coulter here with Catherine from the Advocates Injury Attorneys, and she knows how hard this can be.
That's right. And with all of that, it can seem tempting to take the quick settlement that the insurance company is offering. But I can tell you from experience that it is not going to be a fair amount. I see it all the time where someone has settled with the insurance company and months later realizes that they still have pain from the accident. And now they're having to pay those bills out of their pocket. I don't want that to happen.
What should our listeners do, Catherine?
Give us a call and discuss your situation with an attorney. The call is free and we'll gladly talk about your situation with you. If you have a case that we can help with, you will owe us nothing out of pocket. We actually make the insurance company pay for us to help you.
There you have it. Call the Advocate, 406-640-4444, or go online, MontanaAdvocate.com. You deserve the advocates on your side.
This is Mike Nugent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Berkshire Hathaway provides Western Montana with full-time real estate professionals for you whenever you need us. Our reputation as the state's most knowledgeable and available real estate group has helped build unmatched trust in Garden City and statewide. If you have been thinking of making a real estate move in the short or long term, give me a call. No pressure, no expectations. Just professional opinions and service at whatever pace you are comfortable. Give me, Mike Nugent, a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
Looking for the perfect Christmas gift? It's spicy. Tis the season for seasoning with gift packs from Alpine Tech. 4-spice pack includes 4 Big Mountain flavors for just $19.99. Go to alpinetouch.com right now for gifts sure to keep mouths watering year round. If you plug in the code ESPN at checkout, you'll get a free bag of Alpine Touch sunflower seeds. From gift packs to gift cards to the Grand Slam package, Alpine Touch makes the perfect gift for anyone on your list. Go to alpinetouch.com right now to order. Alpine Touch, Montana's special spice.
Hey there, Sheila. Mark Moss is inviting you to join us for an evening of live storytelling at the Wilma December 20th. Great storytellers take the stage to share their true personal stories and memories of again welcome American School Science Project at Missoula State. The Fort Lockton December 10th, 7 p.m. for Wilma.
This is Tom Skerritt. Each year, nearly 2 million children die from preventable diseases. Each day, 30,000 people die from hunger. 500 each hour for children. The Oregon Project is turning this around. We need your help. To learn more, go to OregonProject.org. BORGEN.
Montana State, they're 4-2. The early part of their men's basketball schedule, and they finally get a home game after having been on the road for their last 4. They got Colorado Christian tonight. Sutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Congratulations to John. He is headed to the Grizzly game. We should have had John on the show. You know, we should have brought him in here, Coulter, because here's what I think. You know, you get a pair of tickets to a Grizz game, that's great. But also, there's a number of people out there. And look, I get it. This is not about, I won't draw too broad of conclusions here, but it's Thanksgiving. You got family in town. Maybe you're headed someplace. Maybe you're going to, a family's place or whatever. By Friday night, if you all get together on Wednesday night or Thursday morning, by Friday night, you might go, you know what? Time for me to head on down to the Adams Center. I think I need just a couple hours of popcorn and Grizz basketball.
It's funny because every Thanksgiving of my adult life, I've been sitting there either writing playoff preview stories because one of the teams was at home, or coaching firing stories, or coaching search potential hiring stories. And I lamented yesterday that my mother is so mad at me for always being on my computer all day on Thanksgiving. But it is a little bit nice of a reprieve from the family activities.
Let me ask you this. Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. SWX Montana Television. We are broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris, Saturday, December 7th, has their 7th annual snow day. 1 day only, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Best sale of the entire year at Kurtz Polaris. If you got your brother, your sister-in-law, your nephew, and then more family out there, okay, but your mom, so forth. How long, legitimately, if you didn't have the work to do, you're going to sit down and just carry on a conversation with an individual?
That's an interesting question. I feel very fortunate that my brother and I have lived together for most of our adult lives, and now we don't per se, but I still go to Bozeman 25 to 30 weekends a year.
Well, so and he's here a fair bit too.
I don't ever even miss my brother because I see him all the time. We hang out as much as we probably would hang out unless we lived in the same house together again.
And you live in the same town with your mom.
I haven't seen my mom as much this football season because I've just been so busy. Mm-hmm. But I do see, I always try to see her at least once a week. And my brother's wife's parents, they live right up the street from me. I actually see them as much as anybody. Because they're kind of out and about a lot, and they have a big house. They're always hosting barbecues and stuff. I do look forward to. I don't have grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
My grandparents all died of natural causes, mostly. Like my mother's father, when I was negative 30 years old. I mean, he died when she was a little
very
girl.
young. Yeah,
and the rest of my grandparents, they all died when I was a kid. My last living grandmother was. How old was I when my grandma died? I mean, I don't know. I was not very old.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate other people's grandparents that are related to me through marriage and stuff like that. Like my sister-in-law's grandparents, I love those people. And I don't see them that much. So I will sit there and talk to them for a long time.
About the old days. Yeah. I mean, it does matter who it is. That is a fair point. That's the nice thing about having
my mother tells me I was 17.
See, some people don't want a big crowd over there. But my thought is this. Look, you're going to get some chaos with the big crowd. We're going to have bunches of kids, bunches of adults, the whole thing. But the upside of that is, if you need to navigate out of one room and into a different room, there's cause. There's
that's why I like the big gatherings, because you can have all the conversations.
That's what I'm saying. And then you don't maybe get, pinned down by Uncle Rico in the corner. You know what I mean? Coulter, now don't wait. No, not yet.
Why?
We're talking about Montana State. We got to talk about the Cats for a
Okay,
second.
they're playing Colorado Christian. They're going to win. Let's rip some cards.
Montana State is 4-2 on the year. They have played very, very well. They beat Yellowstone Christian. They lost to the number, call it 18 team in the nation, Utah State, by just 8 points in the second game, which was, they were ahead in that game with 5 minutes to go. Then they win their next 4, including 3 on the road at University of North Carolina, Greensboro, including against UNCG, in a game winner that was the number 1 play of the night, thank you very much, on ESPN Sports Center Top 10. I mean, that's pretty good from Harold Frey and the guys there. They did drop their last one at Grand Canyon, but they return home tonight. I couldn't be more impressed, though, with the way this team is playing, the new parts to it, and Danny Sprinkle has, if nothing else, pushed a release valve, it seems to me, on this team in terms of which he said he was going to do in the offseason, but they're playing that way with that freedom and and just letting it rip. And also Harold Frey being unquestionably the point guard, making it all happen offensively. The fluidity of this offense right now has been very impressive to me, and they're playing at a level that, for what you're seeing out of Weber State, for what you've seen out of Montana thus far with the young kids and stuff like that, this is a team that's playing better than expectations here just 6 games in.
Certainly less growing pains, still have a lot to be determined. I have no idea if these teams that they've actually played or beaten are actually any good. I mean, UNC Greensboro's been to the tournament in the past. Other than that, I mean, Tennessee Tech, I have no idea. Maybe they should just resoundingly win that game. I really have no clue. They have a 3-game homestand coming up. We'll have a little bit better
Appalachian State as well. I mean,
because of their football program, you don't know a dang thing about the basketball program. Not one. I mean, no one does.
That's true,
no one out here.
but athletic departments that are good are generally pretty good.
Maybe.
I mean, it's certainly not true across the board.
I mean, the Cats are pretty good in football, and they're pretty mediocre in the other stuff. They're really good at women's basketball.
Yeah.
Better in volleyball this year than. Here's a straight tangent. Here's an anomaly and a terrible thing for you. The Big Sky Conference volleyball tournament starts on Thursday.
Yeah.
Think of that. Why? It's Thanksgiving. You're like glazed over. You're like, why? Why is that a bad thing?
I did
trust
3
me.
minutes on Thanksgiving.
The people that
I
are
had no
working in
idea.
sports information and announcing these games are not very pleased with the state of affairs.
I'm sorry.
Start it on Friday.
Yeah, well,
or
next week or whatever.
I don't know. Zootown Sports Cards, corner of Higgins and South Avenue. I got some Panini Prisms here. Also, if you give us a call right now, 329-1899, we got a little gift pack of cards for you.
We're giving away sports cards.
Also, Montana State, should be noted, is really good at track and field as well. Well, yeah, I mean, your premise was only right when it's right. It's just not.
I'm just saying, often men's basketball and football, if programs are really good.
Why is that?
Huh?
Why is that?
Because there's an investment
because of
on,
money
on the whole thing,
which is why FBS football is irrelevant. Case closed.
Oh, for crying out! Listen to you. Tell the people what they're going to win.
You're going to pack a little gift pack from Zootown Sports Cards, which is great. You can buy these for Christmas and Thanksgiving or whatever holidays coming up. We got a couple packs. I think actually some Panini Prisms and some of those Panini Contenders. Show them the Contenders. So if you give us a call right now, we got a little gift pack for you.
Are these players that aren't any good? Is that what's going to happen here?
No.
Oh, yeah, James Harden.
Call 329-1899 right now. We got a little gift pack for you from Zootown Sports Cards. I love these.
You got football cards and you gave me basketball cards, huh?
Well, because I opened that one last time.
Oh, yeah.
I just wanted you to see them. Sweet. Well, little Clinton Portis throwbacks. Little Baker Mayfield.
I got Anthony Davis and Damian Lillard and James Harden. So these packs don't have anybody.
You're looking for the insert, though. Neither one of us got an insert in these.
Is that an insert?
Oh, yeah, that's an insert. Show the camera.
Rudy Gobert.
Nice, dude.
Insert. Love Rudy Gobert.
And so
would have loved to have gotten a Joe Ingles.
I know we're up against it, but for those wondering about collecting, when you get an insert, so like right here, Baker Mayfield, this is a firework. So this is more rare than just the normal card. This is worth a little bit more money. And if you have like the Rudy Gobert, the guys that are international players, they have really big value because basketball's a global game, right, Gus? And like right now, Luka Doncic cards are just blowing up. They are skyrocketing in value. Doncic, David reminds me.
Yes.
I hung out with Brian Fish a lot. Okay, I have a hard time pronouncing basketball players' names. I actually saw Big Fish on the ESPN. Georgia was playing Michigan State, and
he's on the staff at Georgia.
Yeah,
right?
Super cool. Also got Devontae Freeman special edition. So, anyways, 329-1899. Win yourself some cards. And if you don't win, still going down to Zootown Sports Cars. They got all sorts of sweet memorabilia. It's great for stocking stuffers for your kids, your adolescents, or even your 32-year-old sons. Hint, hint, Mom.
Hour 2, straight ahead. FCS speculators will look around the Big Sky. Two coaches not being retained in Big Sky Conference football as of right now. We'll tell you who and where and what might come of it next.
Hi there. It's Flash Schwab Tire. Well, more like Flash Schwab alignment, brakes, shocks, wheels, and tires. Now, some tire places don't offer. They only sell tires. And we're not sure how they sleep with it, because all those services are actually like in shopping. That's why we offer more tires to help you. Stop by or book an appointment at FlashSchwab.com. Flash Schwab Tire, doing the right thing.
On Russell, across from the fairground.
Gather your friends and family and join the Montana Club for their annual Thanksgiving feast, featuring succulent oven-roasted turkey or tender, juicy prime rib, and all the mouth-watering sides. And don't forget the pie. Enjoy home-style pecan, pumpkin, or pumpkin cheesecake to top off your meal. Thanksgiving feast starts at 11 a.m., and they'll also offer their full menu as well. Open 8 to 7 Thanksgiving Day. The Montana Club on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
Selway Armory on Black Friday is the one store you have to visit to save huge on guns, ammo, and accessories. Check out Selway Armory's insert Thanksgiving edition of the Missoulian before Black Friday. All unbelievable inventory and savings they have in store for you. Put Selway Armory on your schedule and get there this Black Friday and Saturday, the sale of the year. Get to the store at 2825 Stockyard Road to the T6 behind IHOP on North Reserve. Selway Armory Black Friday sale. Shop local, save money, shoot more. Are you interested in putting solar panels on your roof? You want the latest on Montana's renewable energy policy? The Montana Renewable Energy Association is the leading voice for renewable energy education and advocacy in Montana. From community-based clean energy events to advocating at the Montana legislature, they work to ensure Montana's future is powered by the sun, wind, and earth. Find out more about MREA and join as a member by visiting montanarenewables.org or calling 406-214-9405.
Have you been hurt or disabled? Are you missing time from work? Not sure what to do? I'm attorney Chris Helmer, Clark Fork Law Offices in Missoula, is here to help. Our team specializes in worker compensation, personal injury, and Social Security disability. We fight for the benefits you deserve. Call Clark Fork Law 728-0168 for a free consultation or visit clarkforklaw.com. Again, 728-0168.
KKVU HD3 Stevensville and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Hey, how are you? Here's some sports news for you. The high school football season came to a close this weekend, and 5 Montana schools can claim state championships. In an overflow capacity at Naranche Stadium in Butte Friday night, the Bulldogs battled the Bozeman Hawks to a 14-14 tie at the break, but the visitors used a bruising running game in the second half to outscore their opponents 35-14 and roll to a 49-28 win for the Class State Double-A title. Bozeman senior and Grizz commit Asher Croy rushed for 333 yards on 33 carries and had 3 touchdowns in the win. In Class A, Miles City beat Hamilton, and Laurel took down Dillon in the state semifinals to set up an All-Eastern final. And in their first home state championship since 1995, Miles City finished off the top 4. Messed it all up. Finished off on top, forcing Laurel into 4 turnovers. They won the football game 35-7, a dominant performance by Miles City, the Cowboys. Congratulations. Coulter, help me.
It is not as easy to mess up when you're doing the read. Manhattan, they won Class B. Fairview won Class C 8-man. Jordan topped Webo in Class C 6-man. Congratulations to all the state championship teams.
Last night, the Grizzlies, a 74-62 winner over Texas Southern. Tonight, Montana State host Colorado Christian their first game back home after 4 road games.
ESPN Sports Center is presented by Clark Fork Law.
Listen to more Barnes, man. I'm into it. It's Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Hour number 2. Outstanding to be with you. 102.9 ESPN. SWX Montana Television. Thanks for letting us hang out with you for a little while on a Tuesday afternoon. Hope you're having a wonderful day. We're broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris Studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Saturday, December 7th. Kurt's 7th annual snow day. It is the biggest sale of the entire year. 1 day only. Go there. Save a bunch of money and get presents for everybody on your list on December the 7th at Kurtz Polaris. If you missed anything in the first hour of the show, check it out on the podcast. The podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts. Search the Tutel Nuanez podcast, listen to it, rate it, subscribe it. And if you're listening now to it, thanks. Big hug, big internet hug from us to you on that. We appreciate it very much. Brought to us by the Wingate by Wyndham Hotel. By the way, I want to remind everybody, we got not 1, but 2 FCS Speculators podcasts coming out this week on a short week, doubling the work with half the time. That's what I call productivity, people. The FCS Speculators, we're going to do 2 of them. The first one is going to be out tomorrow. In fact, I guess they both will be. But we're going to do one that is focused on the 8 seeded teams, and we will have an expert, somebody covering all 8 of the teams that are in the top 8 of the FCS playoffs, talking about those teams and where they're at. And then we will get as many as we can from the first round to the 16 teams and the matchups and all of that for you. So you can check that out as well. We'll have some fun there. 329-1899, the phone number. All guests join us via the Rangich Brothers RV phone line. We got another hour to hang out. We got some more stuff to give away. So stick around with us. We'll have a little bit of fun. Coulter, let's go around the big sky a litlittle bit, shall we, with SkylineSportsMT.com. And 2 openings are now available in the Big Sky Conference when it comes to head coaching vacancies of football teams. Ernest Collins was fired at Northern Colorado, and Tim Walsh, quote unquote, retired, is no longer the head coach at Cal Poly.
We'll give Tim Walsh the credit of and the grace of just saying he retired, because he has been a head coach for 29 years. And Tim Walsh has a very interesting legacy, because Tim Walsh won 176 games in his coaching career. And Tim Walsh was good and sometimes very good at his 2 Big Sky Conference stops. At Portland State, Tim Walsh took the Vikings from a Division II school into the Big Sky. He was there from 1993 through 2006, and Portland State joined the Big Sky in 1996. And he finished second in the league with Portland State on multiple occasions. And it was just, the fact was that the Big Sky Conference was a 1-bid league for a really long time. And sometimes it was a 2-bid league when the second team was Eastern Washington or Montana State, but almost never Portland State. But Tim Walsh finished second at Portland State 4 times, finished third 4 more times. They were very competitive in the Big Sky Conference, won 7 or 8 games, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times at Portland State, but they just made the playoffs the 1 year in 2000. But his time at Portland State was very good. He was good there. And then he went to, when Rich Ellerson left Cal Poly to go to Army, Tim Walsh followed him to be the offensive coordinator at Army for 2 years, which is where he learned the triple option from Rich Ellerson, and then went back to Cal Poly to essentially take over for Rich Ellerson. There was just that 2-year gap where he wasn't there. But at Cal Poly, he led Cal Poly to the Great West title their last year in that league before that league was absorbed into the Big Sky, and then led the Mustangs to a share of the Big Sky Conference Championship their first year in the league. They made it to the playoffs 3 times over the last 9 years. And so, we always talk about, you have to weigh success based on resources and level of expectation more than anything when it comes to small school college athletics. And all things considered, Tim Walsh finishes his career at Cal Poly just 1 game above 500, but considering that they waited to the playoffs 3 times in 9 years, given their academic standards, the fact that they're an outlier in the Big Sky that is not in the league in any other sport besides football. You did a really good job. And the thing I'll say about Tim Walsh is he is a very brash, tough, no-nonsense, and honest guy. I know that there's a lot of people in the league that he rubbed the wrong way, and there's a lot of people in the league that he rubbed the right way. And I love Tim Walsh. I have interviewed Tim Walsh dozens of times for all sorts of different perspectives on all sorts of different stories, and he's been nothing but gracious to me. He's my type of coach. The guy doesn't even wear a headset on the sideline. Mm-hmm. He's so confident in the physical element of football. I don't need to know what's going on. I just want to know what's going on with my players. I want to know what's going on at the point of attack. And I love Tim Walsh for that.
I just want to be clear, too. My sort of utterances at the front of this was in no means attempting to be degrading or whatever to Tim Walsh. I'm just not clear that the retirement was...
Well, a lot of times your contract expires like his did, and they choose not to renew it. But instead of saying, we're not going to renew your contract or you're fired, Tim Walsh just says, okay, my contract's not getting renewed. I'm retiring.
That's what I'm saying, though, is that the retirement is viewed as a choice, and it was a choice to say that. But also, if he had not retired, it's not clear that he would have been back anyways. That's all I'm saying. But within the context of that, everything you said is true. And as you said, every time that we've had a chance in person over the phone to talk with Tim Walsh, he's been great to deal with, and and insightful, and clear on things, which is very good. And also, it probably is. Maybe it is time. He's been there, like you said, 9 seasons at Cal Poly. You go through the Joe Pro. It's sort of like who was the head coach at Pittsburgh? Bill Cowher, right? Mm-hmm. They win a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. I think Super Bowl 42 or whatever it was. And it's Jerome Bettis' he rides out on top and retires the whole year, and it's such a high watermark for the program. And then, Bill Cowher comes back one more year to try and, you want to come back the year after you won the Super Bowl and so forth. But I think clearly kind of his heart was pretty much done after that Super Bowl win, and the team had a lot of changeover and everything. Joe Prothro was one of the great players to ever come through the Big Sky Conference. And maybe the best, certainly one of the best to ever play for Cal Poly, especially in that critical spot as a fullback, but who just does nothing but carry the ball in a triple option offense. And, now you have a very young team, and it's a little bit of a rebuild, and there's still some talent there, and they lost a lot of games really close this year. It just couldn't quite get over the hump. But Tim Walsh, like you said, he's a long-time veteran of this sport and of the college coaching profession. And maybe it's time to take a step back for a minute and see what you want to do and see what's next and what's going on. So we wish him the best, certainly. And then also
one more note on Tim Walsh. He, between his time at Portland State when he coached guys like Ryan Fuqua, who's still among the all-time leading rushers in the history of the Big Sky Conference. The Wood kid, his first name is escaping me right now. The great quarterback that they had when they went to the playoffs, who then became his offensive coordinator at Cal Poly. And then Chris Brown, Joe Prothro, Dan O'Graves. They've had some really, 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 really good players, really memorable players, guys that no one around the league will ever forget. I mean, Nick Zubnar might be one of the best. I mean, Nick Zubnar is still in the NFL. He was a senior on that junior on that 2012 league championship team, a senior the very next year. But he's still in the league. He still plays for San Diego Chargers. Amongst the linebackers from the Big Sky in the last handful of years, he might be the absolute best. He just was only in the league for a year or two, and that's why he didn't get the same recognition. But transitioning into the Northern Colorado job, well, first of all, last point on Cal Poly. On one hand, San Luis Obispo is one of the great towns in the world. I mean, if you've never been there, it is awesome. It is not a giant California metropolis. It's more of a small town with a college town vibe. That also happens to be on the beach with the mountains on the other side, wine country to the north, beer country to the south. I mean, it's glorious.
And one of the absolute top shelf academic institutions anyway.
One of the best engineering schools in the world. One of the best polytechnic of all sorts schools on planet Earth. Epically beautiful camp. Run the option because the academies have weight limits for being able to be in the Air Force or in the Navy. You can't be 300 pounds and be in the Navy.
Right.
You can't be 300 pounds and be in the Air Force. So they have to have lighter guys. So therefore, they run the option so that they can do all the cut blocking stuff. That makes sense. And Cal Poly's always used that similar model. We can't recruit as many guys, so we got to run the option. I just don't know if that's the case anymore in modern, like you were saying last night. If you got a 6'8", 400-pound guy who's got a 4.0 and wants to be an engineer, why can't you recruit that guy?
Sure.
Just recruit him.
Stanford does.
Exactly. But on the other hand, the triple option at Cal Poly is not just the 11 seasons under Tim Walsh. This goes all the way back to Rich Ellerson. They've been running the triple option for close to 25 years. So how do you transition out of it? Because basically, if you hire somebody that wants to transition out of it, you absolutely have to reconcile yourself with being absolutely terrible.
Going to be bad. Going to be
years,
bad.
For several years.
Yeah. You're right. It is.
But on the other side, maybe you can just go recruit a really smart gunslinging quarterback and be like, hey, you want to come be a 4-year starter? It's going to be a rebuild, but you're going to throw the ball a bunch and just get a hotshot California kid who's smart, which, I mean, that's not like a rare thing, right? I mean, there's plenty, I'm sure. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But I think that there's plenty of guys out there that have the academic prowess to get into Cal Poly who also can play football at the FCS level.
Well, and the academics are such that the standard's so high, the academic side of it will pull from a wider range nationally, or at least regionally, than the football side of it would for a lot of these places. All right, Colter, let's get into Greeley, Colorado. It's 2 Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Northern Colorado has let Ernest Collins go. 5 years, 6 years for Ernest Collins at Northern Colorado, which was his alma mater. They had a couple of good seasons, but largely not, and certainly this year, another bad year for Ernest Collins in Northern Colorado. He is out, and, well, don't look now, but there are some names swirling that will be familiar about possible head coaching gigs at Northern Colorado. We don't know, any of that, but Bob Stitt, certainly somebody who's on that radar, a guy who has obviously conference familiarity and also success within the state of Colorado, having been at Mines, which is not that far away from Greeley. Obviously, there's plenty of others that are on the list as well, but for right now, a vacated seat in Greeley, Colorado.
The analysis of the Ernest Collins Jr. era in Northern Colorado also has to include expectations and also resources. Because Ernest Collins Jr. on one hand was more than 50 games under 500 by the time he got. That's not even a possibility in today's college football. Mm-hmm. There's no way that anybody would be allowed to stay around long enough to be 50-plus games under 500. That said, the resource situation at Northern Colorado is such that when he had back-to-back winning seasons, the first 2 back-to-back winning seasons in the history of Northern Colorado as Division I members,
right?
They gave him a 5-year contract extension. And when a guy has a second straight winning season at a place where you've never done it before, I mean, you got to remember, Northern Colorado lost 40-plus Big Sky Conference games to start the Big Sky Conference era. When Montana State lost down there to give them their first Big Sky Conference win more than about a decade ago, it was like a cataclysmic event.
Yeah.
So to win any games, they went 4-4 in league one year. That is a gigantic step up. And so they gave him a contract extension. Well, then they didn't win more than 2 games in any of the subsequent years. And now they finally reached the second to last year of the contract, and they finally have the money to buy him out. But that was the case, is the fact that he signed the contract extension, they went back to being really bad, and they still couldn't get rid of him.
Right.
And it's not as if get rid is the wrong word, because Ernest Collins Jr. is an alum at Northern Colorado. He did the best he could. But here's the situation at Northern Colorado, this is why Bob Stitt is an intriguing hire. Because Bob Stitt, if you believe any of the good parts about Bob Stitt, which I know that's hard for people around here to believe any of the good parts about Bob Stitt, but the one thing you could give him credit for is the fact that at a school with tough academic standards, very limited resources, Colorado School of Mines, he was very competitive. He ran a very competitive program. Northern Colorado doesn't have the academic prowess of Colorado Mines, though, and the fact of the matter is that when they moved up to Division I, they joined the Big Sky Conference in their Division I in name. They do not have Division I facilities. They do not have Division I resources. They are now, with North Dakota out of the leagues, largely becoming an outpost of the league. Their men's and women's basketball teams have been competitive lately, and their women's soccer teams have been competitive lately, which gives them an argument to somehow be able to maintain legitimacy as a Division I school. But when you look at just football, they're not D1.
You know, here's something that I don't really understand, Colter. We should get somebody in here who knows more about this stuff than I do, which is easy. But Denver, I mean, there is the Denver Bronco fan base that is in Denver and Colorado. I mean, nationwide, but especially in that city. I mean, it Mile High is a huge stadium, and it is sold out so many years in advance, like you can't even imagine. People love the Denver Broncos and love football in the state of Colorado.
Totally.
But both Boulder and Colorado State and also the high school programs in what is a major metropolis area, especially I mean, it
by
is
Western standards.
By Western standards,
yeah.
There really isn't the hotbed of recruits. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some really great players from Colorado.
High school
but
sports in Colorado are not good. Period. Like the 5 and 6A players of the year in the state every year are going to mid-major schools.
The best,
like Northern Colorado men's basketball has the last 3 Colorado Player of the Year,
right,
from the state of Colorado. The
best sport in the state of Colorado, the high school level, lacrosse, exploded in Colorado. In fact, Denver was the first team west of the Mississippi to ever win a lacrosse national championship, NCAA Division I lacrosse national championship. Right. And maybe, I don't know if that's part of it, and maybe they're the example of the trend away from football, but it's odd, isn't it?
What's short-sighted, I think, maybe for us to say, like what I just said maybe is a blanket statement that's a little bit short-sighted. I said that high school sports in Colorado are not good. What I meant was that football and men's basketball are not.
Yes.
I think that there's a real.
But that's weird.
It's not, though. I think that there's a definitive attachment and detachment between affluency and being elite at highly competitive and or violence-based sports. In other words, disadvantaged backgrounds is better for football.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you. I bet you Denver and that whole metropolitan area produces amazing women's soccer players, awesome volleyball players.
Right.
Sweet baseball players. The sports that cost money, that affluency equals success. I mean, I would love to see a study, but how many dudes that are in the NFL or the NBA grew up in upper middle class families compared to the opposite? I really do. I think that there's a distinct connection between desperation and being able to rise to the top in certain sports, but in other sports, you really do have to have the resources.
Well, it's so funny, too, because how often have we seen, you talk about this all the time, and you're starting to sway me, but the quarterbacks and the Western Washington skyline 4A, 5A quarterbacks who are 4- and 5-star recruits that are going to every quarterback camp under the sun and the California schools and everything, and can be really, really talented, but maybe, I mean, whether it's a leadership thing, whether it's, I don't know, man, but it doesn't happen. And look, man, quarterback is such unique. How many great quarterbacks are there alive today? I don't know, a dozen. So I don't know if there's that really, you can't really start to tie this stuff to too much outside of this individual has a gift that the rest of us just don't have. I mean, from Lamar Jackson to Tom Brady, you couldn't have 2 more different people, backgrounds, player types, anything, True. And they're both the best of the best.
True.
And so, it's that's probably not a great example or metaphor for whatever, but it is an interesting thing. They probably got great soccer in Colorado, great lacrosse.
The other thing, and this is a great point from David, he just sent this over on the messenger. I think one thing we're seeing culturally across all sports and across everywhere in the country is that if you are not a star player or someone that is doing it to potentially go to college, like just the concept of being on a team is just not that cool to kids anymore. The sense of belonging and the camaraderie and all that stuff. Like, you're just going to be the 9th man on a varsity basketball team that's not a good varsity basketball team, maybe you just don't do it. And then in Colorado, think about all the stuff there is to do.
Right.
Like, if you just get cut from the freshman team when you're in hoops, why would you ever try to go back and make the JV team and say, well, I'm just going to go skiing?
Right.
I'm just going to go whitewater rafting. I'm going to go do all the cool stuff that Colorado has. And it's so accessible, too. So maybe that's a factor as well. But I don't know. I've always thought I've always thought that because it's all the way downhill, right? The Broncos this year are bad, but the Broncos have been a great franchise forever.
Jeremy Bloom. That's
yeah.
You remember Jeremy Bloom?
Absolutely.
Kick returner, one of the outstanding, like All-American guy. Played for the Eagles.
Yep.
But is also an Olympic mogul skier. Didn't focus in on it.
It also comes
never much of anything in the football world.
It also comes down to the Mike Kramer philosophy, and Mike Kramer talked to me about this forever. Not only just the disenfranchised nature of how that can motivate you to want to be way more aggressive and pour your heart and soul into a sport that is by and large not very fun when it comes to practice and very arduous, very difficult, and very dangerous. Not only coming from disadvantaged backgrounds, but also it's the Mike Kramer in relation to why is Arizona State not good at a lot of things? Why is Colorado and Colorado State very mediocre? It's because
there's stuff
it's
going
not
on.
The only thing that's going on.
Yeah.
You're going to go to the best party in the country if you win or lose in Tempe. You're going to have the prettiest girl. If you're the starting quarterback at Arizona State, you got yourself a pretty girlfriend, even if you go 0-11 and throw 3 picks a game. It doesn't matter, right? The quality of life is still going to be so good. And maybe this is the same factors. I mean, but it is bizarre. Like, why has Colorado... I mean, Boulder, it couldn't be a cooler town.
Right.
I mean, Boulder's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And they suck at sports. Men's basketball's gotten a little bit better.
Yeah. They had there was also like the gap where when they went to the Pac-12, it was going to take time for them to catch up, and then they caught up, and then they were really good for a minute, top, nationally ranked. And they were even, 1989 or something, that they were a national champion.
Who are you talking?
The Colorado Buffaloes football team.
I mean, as recently as the early 2000s, when they were going head-to-head with Nebraska year after year for the Big 12 title, I mean, they were competitive.
Mm-hmm.
When Ty Gregorak, who's been on this show many times, was playing there, they were really good.
And in, 3 or 4 years ago, was it McIntyre? They had one season where they were outstanding. They were nationally ranked, and
they had that sweet quarterback, the Polynesian kid.
But nonetheless, it hasn't been there as a matter of consistency. Certainly there. Well, we'll see what happens at Northern Colorado, and they have an uphill battle to fight in all of those respects.
The last point I will make on this is that when Portland State came open when Nigel Burton was fired, or when Sac State came open when Marshall Spurbeck and then Jody Sears was fired, when NAU came open when Jerome Sowers retired, when even when Idaho State came open when Mike Kramer retired, I thought to myself, man, if they hire the right guy, that could be a pretty interesting job. I thought that about Sac State and Portland State specifically. Well, Portland State did hire the right guy, and he's in the middle of a rebuild right now, but they went to the playoffs his very first year for the second time in school history with Bruce Barnum. Look at Sac State. Take the same group of dudes who did not win a league game last year and give them a new coaching staff, and they won the league because of the potential of the job.
Right.
NAU dumpster fire right now, but I think that Chris Ball will probably get it rolling just because there's some stuff to recruit to at NAU. It's a huge school. It's a great town, blah, 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 blah. What I would say is that Northern Colorado is absolutely, unquestionably the worst job in the league, and I don't think there's a guy that you could hire to make it into a good job, period. Mm-hmm. And it has nothing to do with anything besides the fact that they just don't have money. They don't pour you do not have the ability to recruit on the same level as the other teams in your league, period. And it's not like in Montana where you're going to get 10 to 15 stud players that you could give half rides that cost $3,000 on in-state tuition in Montana. I don't know what tuition is in Montana, but it is cheap compared to UC Davis and Cal Poly.
No doubt.
You don't have that in Northern Colorado. You have none of the advantages. None. You don't have an academic prowess to sell. You don't have tradition to sell. You have nothing to sell.
Mm-hmm.
It's not close the worst job in the world.
Sutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. On the other side, how about the teams that were good this year that still have their coaches in place? They're going to the playoffs. We'll talk about them and the playoff draws right after this. Coulter, it's Thanksgiving in 2 days. Family coming into town. Maybe you need just extra space. You got too many people coming around. Maybe you got, well, look, we're not going to question your motives. You need a hotel room, okay? You go, send them out to the Wingate by Wyndham Hotel. It's a great spot. It's close to the airport, so it's convenient that way. They got a great pool, a water slide even, full breakfast, and it's easy to get to.
It's right by the freeway, so you can access any part of Missoula, so no matter where you're going. That's an interesting idea. If I was in the situation, I'd go to the Wingate by Wyndham. Because say you got a packed house and I'm going to be the one that's sleeping on the couch, I'm just going to sneak out the back door. Go get myself a little room with the Wingate by Wyndham. Be back in the morning, cook everybody breakfast. Nobody even knows I was gone.
Perfect.
Beautiful beds, great rooms. But the breakfast, that's the kicker, too. If you don't want to cook the fan breakfast, you can even go get some breakfast there, too, if you're a guest.
Perfect.
But the parking, ample and free for guests. The service, second to none. They have a great business center if you need to get some work done over the holiday weekend, or if you got some friends and family coming in for the playoff games coming up in Missoula. Send them to the Wingate by Wyndham and let the Wingate by Wyndham make you feel at home, even when you're not.
Hi there. It's Flash Swab Tire. Well, more like Flash Swab alignment, brakes, shocks, wheels, and tires. Now, some tire places don't offer. They only sell tires. And we're not sure how they sleep with it, because all those services are excellent like in shopping. That's why we offer more tires to help you. Stop by or book an appointment at FlashSwab.com. Flash Swab Tire. Doing the right thing.
On Russell, across from the fairground.
Have you been in an accident and have no idea what to do? I'm here with Catherine from the Advocates Injury Attorneys.
Unfortunately, people are injured in accidents every day, and dealing with the insurance company can add even more pain to an already bad situation. That is where hiring the advocates can help. Let us guide you through the process and take on the hassles for you so you can just focus on
If you've been injured in an accident, give the Advocates a call, 406-640-4444, or online at MontanaAdvocates.com. The Advocates are on.
The biggest season in sports is shifting into overdrive, and the Desperado Sports Tavern has the fuel you need to make it to the finish line. By now, you've heard that the Despo serves the best wings around, but did you know they have a full menu with burgers, nachos, chicken strips, sandwiches, cheese sticks, and even steaks? Fill your tank, then wash it down with an ice-cold beverage or two. Keep your head in the game with 32 HD TVs and room for the whole crew. The Desperado Sports Tavern on South Russell across from the Y.
Hey there, Missoula. Mark Moss with Telephone, inviting you to join us for an evening of live storytelling for Wilma, December 10th at 6 p.m. 8 storytellers take the stage to share their true personal stories of memory on the theme Ticket. We again welcome American Sign Language Interpreter, who will sign for our Texans in Missoula community. Get your tickets now. At that podcast, Doc and Rudy's or Log Jam presents December 10th, 7 p.m. at the Wilma.
This is Tom Skerritt. Each year, nearly 2 million children die from preventable diseases. Each day, 30,000 people die from hunger. 500 each hour for children.
Sports Center.
The high school football season came to a close this weekend, and 5 Montana schools can claim state championships. Hi, Brian Tutel, Colton Nuanez. Here's some sports news for you. In an overflow capacity, Naranchi Stadium in Butte Friday night, the Bulldogs battled the Bozeman Hawks to a 14-14 tie at the break, but the visitors used a bruising running game in the second half to outscore their opponents 35-14 and roll to a 49-28 win for the Class AA state title. Bozeman senior and Grizz commit Asher Croy rushed for 333 yards on 33 carries and 3 touchdowns in the victory.
In Class A, Miles City beat Hamilton, and Laurel took down Dillon in the state semifinals to set up an all-Eastern final. And in their first home state championship game since 1995, Miles City finished off the season on top, forcing 4 Laurel turnovers and cruising to a 35-7 win. The Cowboys now have a record Class A 10 state title.
In Class B, Manhattan took down favored Fairfield in the semis to earn the right to host, but couldn't hold off Eureka, who won 20-6. Hank Dunn scored all 3 touchdowns for the Lions as Eureka won its 3rd state championship of the last 4 seasons.
Fairview had 12 seniors on its Class C 8-man roster and used that depth during the first state title in school history, dismantling Clark Fork 70-6. And in 6-man, Jordan finished on top, dominating Webo 70-14.
Ocean Avenue, where I used to sit and talk with you. We were both 16 and it felt so right. Sleeping all day, staying up all night. Staying up all night.
Let's take a look at some of the matchups in the FCS postseason broadly and what we think might happen, could happen. Where is a potential upset on the list? It's Tutel Nuanez, 1029 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. Outstanding to be with you on this Tuesday afternoon. Hope you're having a great day. We are broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris is at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy. Saturday, December 7th is Kurt's 7th annual snow day. One day only, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Kurtz Polaris. Go in there, save a bunch of money, and get everybody on your Christmas list happy at Kurtz Polaris. If you would like to listen live, you can go to our website, 1029ESPN.com. Listen on the stream. The stream available all the time, and it is there thanks to Opportunity Bank, your local bank, your opportunity. We are available on social media, people. Tweeting and Instagramming and doing all various other things, podcasting and whatnot. At Gus Tutel, that's me. At 1029 ESPN, the station, on Twitter and Instagram, and at Skyline Sports MT for your up-to-the-moment Big Sky Conference news, particularly with regards to Montana and Montana State. Here in my hand, I am holding the Division I FCS playoff bracket. Notably not an FBS playoff bracket because there is no such thing. So that's your best argument, by the way, for bowls being irrelevant. It's not that there's bowls, but that there isn't a playoff. So here we go. Colter, you tell me right now. We got the 8-seeded teams, and again, from 1 through 8, it's North Dakota 1, James Madison 2, Weber State 3, Sacramento State 4, Montana State 5, Montana 6, South Dakota State, who destroyed Northern Iowa in the first 2 weeks ago, and then lost shockingly to South Dakota last week to finish on a note where they thought they weren't even going to get a seed. South Dakota State, where they were playing a backup quarterback on the whole thing, they end up there at the 7th seed despite the loss. And then Central Arkansas rounds out the top 8, which I think was a surprise to a lot of teams. But Colter, when you look, the first round matchups, have fun, people. Go enjoy them. Check them out. See the teams that you're interested in. Obviously, for Montana State, Albany versus Central Connecticut State is the big one because that's who will be headed to Bozeman, the winner of that game. And then for the Grizzlies, Southeastern Louisiana versus Villanova. But when you're looking at this thing, Colter, and you're thinking about teams that might be able to knock off a team that's a seeded team in the second round, where do you go? Because for me, I think I start with Northern Iowa, South Dakota State. South Dakota State has been, at its best, one of the 3 best teams in the country. I mean, they played basically even with North Dakota State. They then lose their quarterback, and they blew out Northern Iowa 2 weeks ago, but then they lose to South Dakota, and so they're on a little bit of a roller coaster. And sometimes teams that have lost and lost handily, like Northern Iowa did, if you get a turnaround and play that team right away, it actually can be a good thing. To be able to do so. If Northern Iowa beats San Diego, which I think they will at home, a Northern Iowa Jackrabbit matchup in the second round, I could see the unseeded Northern Iowa Panthers getting past SDSU in that football game, despite the fact that they lost by 5 touchdowns almost the first time around.
Yeah, I was thinking about this earlier this morning. The fact that there's 8 seeds now. You hear seed, you hear first round bye, you think elite. And certainly you're right there if you're in the top 8 teams in the country for sure. But I think that then it demeans the fact that a lot of times the rankings aren't used for the other teams. And a lot of times, so for example, let's say Villanova beats Southeastern Louisiana.
Yep.
That's going to be, according to the Stats FCS poll, going to be number 8 at number 6. So you're basically playing one of the other 8 best teams in the country in your very first playoff game.
Central Arkansas, by the way, ranked 9th in the stats poll, so they're right there as well. But the difference between having a seed and not is significant. But because of the way the bidding happens, it's not like it's seeded 1 through 24. You know, you got your top 8 seeds, and then everybody else is up against it. So you could be playing the quote 23rd best team in the country as easily as you could be playing the 10th best team in the country according to the season. Then it's all about the matchup
Totally.
anyway.
So as far as first round or second round upsets, it's so hard because we don't know who any of these teams are going to play. You presume Northern Iowa is going to beat San Diego.
And by the way, Stats FCS has Northern Iowa sixth in the nation, and they're
every
not
poll
even
in the
getting
country at Northern Iowa sixth.
Yeah.
South Dakota State's 38-7 win over Northern Iowa is why South Dakota State's got the seventh.
Mm-hmm.
But first of all, in terms of the Missouri Valley teams, South Dakota State and Illinois State both lost their quarterbacks late in the season. I think that's also why they both lost their last games of the season. Can you bounce back for that or not? Illinois State is one of the best pass rushing teams in the country. I think that the winner of the SEMO-Illinois State game, you would presume that would be the one that has the best chance because they're going to be playing the lowest of the seeded teams in Central Arkansas. And I'd say that the winner of Southeast Missouri State, Illinois State, I think either of those teams could beat Central Arkansas. I not only think they could, I think they will. On the bottom side of the bracket, Austin Peay has been this very anomalous team to me because they've risen out of nowhere. They were a completely irrelevant team on the FCS landscape forever. I never even thought of them as an FCS team, but they have been quite good. They got snubbed from the playoffs last year. Now they're into the playoffs. So what their level of motivation is. That said, Sac State, when they're at full strength, their offense is so precise and so hard to deal with. But the other one that could be interesting is you got Wofford versus Kennesaw State. First of all, that game might take 2 hours.
Right, triple option
versus triple
teams.
option.
Yep.
And then you look at the matchup with Weaver State. On one hand, Jay Hill and his teams have been as good against the option as anybody. They've had unbelievable plans. They've smashed Cal Poly. They've actually played Cal Poly in non-conference games 2 of the last 3 years because Jay Hill kind of takes the page out of Bobby Hauck's book. I want to play the triple option team early. If we're not going to play them on our schedule anyways, it's a good non-conference game with a conference team. Relatively easy travel, but also good for cultivation of toughness. On the other hand, though, a triple option team can beat anybody on any day if they operate correctly.
Mm-hmm. Right.
We saw Wofford come in here and beat it. I mean, there's all the talk about the 08 and 09 Grizz teams that both went undefeated all the way to the national championship and then fell short by losing in the national championship. Excuse me, the 08 Grizz lost one other game before that. But regardless, those teams won almost every game on their schedule until the national championship. Make no mistake, 2017, the loss to Wofford might be the most talented Grizz team of all time because it was the crossover, the last couple Joe Glenn players, plus the full flush of Bobby Hauck recruits that were starting to come of age. And like that secondary, every single one of those dudes. You had Croy Bierman on the front line. You had all sorts of stud linebackers. I mean, they had Lex Hilliard, Chase Reynolds, and Justin Green were all on the team. Mm-hmm. Most Grizz guys that I know would tell you that was actually the most talented team and the most heartbreaking loss when they lost to Wofford. But that shows you what the triple option could do to you. So that could be one that's an upset special as well.
In terms of first round game that I'm just interested in because of who's playing in it, Nicholls State and North Dakota. Now, the winner of this game has to go to Fargo to play North Dakota State, so probably your season ends there. But Nicholls State, the number 18 team in the nation, 19, according to stats, and North Dakota, because North Dakota is a team that we've seen a little bit now since they did play a full Big Sky Conference schedule. They are the de facto 5th Big Sky Conference team that is in, even though they are an independent that is playing in this thing. They both have 4 losses. North Dakota, is 7-4 because they didn't play a 12th game. They chose to just have an open date. And then Nicholls State was 8-4. We've talked about how strong the Big Sky Conference is. North Dakota, even though they're an independent, got in playing the Big Sky Conference teams. What do you think about this matchup? Because Nicholls State is pretty good as well. This game's a pick-em right now. But what do you think about that game in the first round?
I mean, it's just exactly what I think of all the other games. If you're not from the Big Sky or the Missouri Valley, I don't think you're going to win.
So you got North Dakota?
I got North Dakota.
Okay. Well,
I just think that the Big Sky and Missouri Valley teams are just straight up better than everybody else, with the exception of James Madison, Villanova. That's it. Really?
Yeah. I mean,
really.
Look,
really. I think the Southland is a fine conference. I think that Portland State would be in the mix to win the Southland. I think North Dakota would win the Southland outright.
Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Walter, quick question here. Maybe not that quick. If Montana were to lose their first playoff game in a week and a half, now obviously people would make all the connections between what happened on Saturday in Bozeman and everything else. What do you think that would mean for this program and for Bobby Hauck?
Man, I think it would be massively disappointing, but I also think that you're going to think this is crazy that I said this, but I don't think that it would necessarily be a bad.
No, see, I do think you're crazy. What I think you could say, and I would get behind, is it might not.
It could be insane motivating factor, especially because they don't lose that much.
It wouldn't necessarily knock them out or off, like it wouldn't derail the program. It would not be good for them.
It would not be good for them, but here's what I would say. The Grizz will be better early. I don't know. Because they got hot and really started believing in themselves and they could carry that momentum in the offseason. That would be huge too. But I do think that sometimes when you fall short, especially when it's not quite your time yet, and I don't think it's quite the Grizz time. I do think this Montana team, I think they have a decent shot of going to the quarters.
Yeah.
Or even the semis.
Yeah.
Or even the national championship. I mean, if they truly ripped it all the way to the national title game, it wouldn't totally floor me. But I think it's probably more likely the other side of the coin. But I just think that it could be a huge motivating factor, especially for the guys that play the really physical position.
I do think you said they don't lose that much, and in terms of numbers, they don't. But in terms of dudes, they do. And I mean, you talk about Dalton Sneed and Dante Olson. I actually think that Dante Olson is not replaceable as the player, but the position and productivity there is, especially when you have Jace Lewis, who's already proven what he could be. Cam Humphrey, if given a full year and preparation and everything like that, I think it can be and would be a good Big Sky Conference quarterback. I just don't think he's going to be Dalton Sneed. And also,
I also don't think that I would not even give it a 50% likelihood that he's the guy. Quarterback.
Okay, and
I think he's going to have to endure a super competitive competition with the junior college transfer that they're bringing in, Chris Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Garrett Graves will be in the mix. Even if he continues to struggle at quarterback, he will be in the mix until they finally decide to move him positions, or he'll be the quarterback. One of the two scenarios will play out.
Let's put it like this. Almost certainly the position is going to look very different, and therefore the offense. And that might be a good, you could still be hugely productive. If you got somebody who you think is better than Cam Newton, or at least can do the things that you want
Cam Humphrey.
Yeah, Cam Humphrey.
I think Cam Newton would be pretty good at Montana.
Well, I don't know. I mean, bad foot's a bad foot. But if you... if you find somebody who does more of what you think you want to do, and I don't even know what that is. I don't even know if the coaches know what that is necessarily at this point. I mean, it's still this year now. Replacing, though, what Dalton Sneed has been and can do, which is pretty much everything when healthy, is going to be a major loss for this team when he graduates. And that, to me, says that, look, you can never get the 2019 playoffs over again, okay? So as far as you can go right here, right now, obviously you want to, you need to, but I also think there's a real reason to think that this team is, you said they haven't quite arrived, maybe not, but they have arrived in a lot of ways. And they have the players to be really good right here and right now, and they're probably going to have some really good players. In fact, certainly going to have some great players over the next couple of years in spots. But you have to have the confluence come together right in order for that to happen. And to lose this game now and to have that be the end of this season and the end of a little bit of this era, of the introductory era of Bobby Hauck, I think is damage. I really do. And yet, you got a guy who knows the program, knows the state, and is going to continue to build and or rebuild. But I don't know, in the cycle of this thing, or if there is a cycle of this thing, I think that game Saturday is a big one.
Montana does have some huge advantages in personnel right now, and they also have gigantic deficiencies, and that's going to be the thing that's changed. Like, are you going to get somebody as good as Dalton Sneed, Dante Olson, or Sammy Cam again? Maybe not. But you also won't have a bunch of... Montana is...
You're going to be much better up front, both directions. Yeah.
Montana's honestly bad at certain positions, man. Like, I think Justin Calhoun has a great story. He's not good.
Well,
He's very competitive.
Yeah.
He's a 79 at corner. It's unfortunate because he's probably a 91 at a receiver.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he could play receiver and corner at the D1 level, be a four-year starter, all the props in the world to the kid. He's just him versus any starting X or Z receiver in the league is a disadvantage for Montana, and Montana will not be in that position. Montana used to have dudes like Tremaine Johnson. Think about the difference between those two guys. And I'm not dogging on Justin Calhoun. I'm just saying, I just don't think you can make a deep playoff run unless you got a couple 90s playing corner.
Sutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Here's what we want to do. We want to give you something.
Of course we do.
Heading into the, well, not quite, but soon, into the Thanksgiving weekend. 329-1899. We got a six-pack and a sandwich for you from our friends at Warden's Market, okay? $10 for any selection of a six-pack that you might like, and $10 for the best sandwiches that you can get around town, okay? You go down there, you have yourself a nice time. Take something nice for the holidays, right? Go down there, fill up the collection thing, and everybody's going to think you're a hero when you walk through the door, and you can explain to them all of the insight that the folks down there have given to you. 329-1899, 329-1899, Warden's Market. The Missoula original, still doing it and doing it very well. Six-pack and a sandwich for Sutel Nuanez, just because we like it. Back, wrap this thing up. We'll tell you about one outstanding track athlete who made a decision about a college today. It's a big one next.
This is Mike Nugent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Berkshire Hathaway provides Western Montana with full-time real estate professionals for you whenever you need us. Our reputation as the state's most knowledgeable and available real estate group has helped build unmatched trust in the Garden City and statewide. If you have been thinking of making a real estate move in the short or long term, give me a call. No pressure, no expectations. Just professional opinions and service at whatever pace you are comfortable. Give me, Mike Nugent, a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
Hey, Colter Nuanez from Sutel Nuanez. You need a great place for a Christmas gift? I got a spot for you. Aspen Sound in Missoula. They got all the hookups for everything you could possibly need for your vehicles. What are some of the sweet things you got going on down there, Tom?
Thanks, Colter. You know, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto have sure been popular this year for safety and convenience. You can do text messaging, maps, pretty much everything you need, and phone calls, music, everything right from the touch of your radio. We also have remote car starters, as you know, and window tint. Lots of goodies at a great price. Come on down and see us.
Feel the music at Aspen Sound.
There's a saying, opportunity never knocks twice. When you're ready to take advantage of your next opportunity, look to your local bank. Opportunity Bank of Montana. Opportunity Bank offers options for mortgage loans, small business loans, equipment financing, agriculture, and more. Our experienced team can provide solutions to help you welcome your next big opportunity. There's nothing like the feeling of progress. So let's get started today. Come see us at your local Opportunity Bank of Montana. OpportunityBank.com, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Thank you for making Polaris America's best-selling off-road brand. During the Polaris Great American Thank You event, financing is as low as 3.99% and rebates go as high as $3,500. Live life wide open in a high-performance race. Tackle everything from mountains to mud holes, the legendary Sportsman ATV. Get more done with a hard-working Ranger or elevate your adventure in the versatile Polaris General. Now is the time to get the season's best deals on America's best-selling off-road lineup with financing as low as 2.99%, APR for 36 months, and rebates up to $3,500 during the Polaris Great American Thank You at Church Polaris, 2904 West Broadway in Missoula and Highway 8th Street in Sealy. Get the Church Polaris on Saturday, December 7th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. for the 7th annual snow day. This is ticket sales here one day only, Saturday, December 7th at Church Polaris in Missoula. Church's 7th annual snow day. Rebates valid in U.S. through 12/31/19 on new 2020 vehicles. Subject to credit approval, offered carried by model see dealer for details. Always wear a helmet, never drink drive. Are you interested in putting solar panels on your roof? You want the latest on Montana's renewable energy policies? The Montana Renewable Energy Association, the leading voice for renewable energy education and advocacy in Montana. From community-based clean energy events to advocating at the Montana legislature, they work to ensure Montana's future is powered by the sun, wind, and earth. Find out more about MREA and join as a member by visiting montanarenewables.org or calling 406-214-9405.
Sutel and Nuanez on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Missoula.
Welcome back as we wrap up a Tuesday show on Two Telling and One. It's great to be with all of you. Thanks for spending some time with us. Broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula. Get in there on Saturday, December 7th, the 7th annual snow day, one day only at Kurtz Polaris. If you missed anything in the show, listen on the podcast. It's available wherever you get your podcast. Rate it, review it. Click on the links. Help us out a little bit, would you? We appreciate that. The Two Telling and One is podcast available thanks to the Wingate by Wyndham Hotel. And remember, new FCS Speculators podcast coming out tonight and tomorrow. And we're going to do the podcast regarding the 8-seeded teams with the buys tonight with a bunch of experts. In fact, we have an expert for every single team in the field on the podcast. Pretty cool. Ooh. And then tomorrow, the opening round games, those 16 teams, we will have analysis of at least one, if not both teams involved in every game with the lines that are there. So that's been a fun thing to do. I think people have been enjoying it. Looks like it's going pretty well. And so shout out to David Graff making it happen well every day around here. Speaking of shout outs, Coulter Lauren Hagen, unbelievable track athlete, specifically a triple jumper, but everything. It's nice to be able to call your shot on where you want to go. And she had offers to go to track teams at Stanford, Notre Dame, and the University of Washington. At least that's what she had narrowed it down to. She had many more offers than that, but those were the three finalists. A pretty good list, I would think, to pick from. And today made her official commitment to the University of Washington Huskies in Seattle. I think that this has to do with not wanting to change over her whole wardrobe, right? You got the Sentinel gold and purple. You just keep it right on going, turn the S to a W, and you're off and running. You can keep all the clothes that you got. You know what I mean? That's a nice making feature of going to a school with the same color scheme of your high school. In any case, though, congratulations to Lauren Hagen. That is awesome. All three of those schools, premier academic institutions and outstanding track schools as well. And you've said it before, track and field actually is probably the sport across the state of Montana that has produced the highest level of athletes, talking about going on to top tier Division I institutions to participate in their athletics sport than any other in the state of Montana. And Lauren Hagen, today is her day as she heads to the University of Washington.
She'll be competitive right away. I mean, a 41, 42-foot triple jumper, she will be scoring points likely in meets. She'll certainly be scoring points in meets and perhaps even competing for all Pac-12 right away, right out the gates. If she can continue, especially if she gets better. I mean, she's already broke and rebroken the all-class triple jump record multiple times. At the state meets and everything, not just at other meets. She is the official.
On the record, yes.
Official 2 times over. So, I mean, again, 42-foot triple jump is monstrous. She can continue to replicate that. And if she improves, you're talking about truly a national championship caliber triple jump. I mean, she's that good of an athlete. And it's cool because
what is like U.S. national team, triple jumping? I'm not talking about like world records and stuff like that. But if you're talking about being on a national team, a World Cup type of team, what is the women's mark that you need to hit?
I'm looking it up here. Just bear with me.
Okay, I will bear.
45 feet is sort of every. This is outdoor triple jump championships. Yep. So every year since 2003, between 45 feet 8 inches and 46 feet 1 inch has been a national champion.
It's remarkable, man. You're talking about going 45, 46 feet, and the window is 5 inches. I mean, that is how, first of all, dialed in you get, where like to the inch, like how far you got to get, and pushing it to that razor edge. I mean, the fact that you're not talking about, well, this year, I don't know, it was windy, it was cold, 42 and a half feet. Okay, this year, it was at elevation.
If you're looking for the perfect Christmas gift, think spicy. 'Tis the season for seasoning with gift packs from Alpine Tech. 4-spice pack includes 4 Big Mountain flavors for
Gather your friends and family and join the Montana Club for their annual Thanksgiving feast, featuring succulent oven-roasted turkey or tender, juicy prime rib, and all the mouth-watering sides. And don't forget the pie. Enjoy home-style pecan, pumpkin, or pumpkin cheesecake to top off your meal. Thanksgiving feast starts at 11 a.m., and they'll also offer their full menu as well. Open 8 to 7 Thanksgiving Day. The Montana Club on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
No matter how far you may go, there's always one just down the road. Town Pump, pump it up.
Whether you need energy to get you going or a little relaxation to wind you down, Town Pump has it. Red Bull Energy 12-ounce, 3 for $7. And Keystone 15-pack, $8.88. There's a Town Pump